Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the World of Momos podcast. And on this episode of Reflections and Reactions, I want to talk to you a bit about the security of our nation, the security of all nations in the West. And perhaps it is time for everyone to wake up now, even though a lot of people, including myself, have been warning against these things for a very long time. But it is finally time for everyone to wake up to the realities of where all this division and concentration of ethnicities and religions and stuff has been playing, right? So this has been coming, right? Many times ago, I asked a question that if Britain was to fight a war with an Islamic country, how many Muslims in this country would support Britain, would fight for Britain, would defend Britain? And that question is becoming more and more apparent, right? How many of these people that we take as refugees? Well, we know the answer to that anyways. They didn't fight for their own country, so why would they fight for our country, right? Because they're definitely not coming over here because they love Britain. They're coming over here for economical reasons, most of them, right? So why would they endanger themselves for us? But we are expected to fight for their safety. Also, we have seen in the news this absolutely disgusting person, this race baiter of a woman, Dr. Shola, mocking the native population of this country regarding the request or the suggestion, let's say, by the army chief about needing the public's help to defend Britain, perhaps in the future, since the size of the army is too small, right? So it could very well be that they are just trying to boost their budget. And this seems to be the best time to boost the budget by scaring the population, by scaring the government. But her making fun of the native population in the way that she has done, I don't know if you have seen it, you probably have, just goes to show, like, the native population by the end of the day will fight for this country. The majority of them will do. But why then they will start asking, why should we fight to defend this country and have such people living here? Such people who actively hate Britain, right? So there's a difference right now. After that call by the army chief, there has been mixed views, right? Let's say most of the people, it seems like, would not want to fight for Britain, but there are two broader categories, reason categories, I would say. One category is of people who are disillusioned by the leadership and the direction in which our country is going, and they do not want to engage in external warfare. They want the country to fix their homegrown problems, right? Problems that are happening over here that we need to concentrate on and to deal with the enemies within. The other group of people who are saying that they wouldn't go for war to defend Britain and her interest seems to be a group of people who actively hate Britain, right? Not just that, but within them also lies strong contingent of the enemies within. The communists, who, whatever iterations you want to call them, that's just a distraction. Leninists, Marxists, whatever they form that in, they actively want to destroy the Western civilization and Britain, right? And the other group of Islamists who obviously want to destroy Britain and make a Sharia law, as we said. So, there's a difference between these two, because you fix the leadership and you have something on one side. regardless of the leadership, this other part of these other group of the people, they just want to see this whole country burn in chaos. It is time to realize, to recognize, to start devising a strategy to deal with the enemies within, because whatever is coming, our position is weakened by having these people here, right? Because they are the one who are going to open the gates for the enemies, like leave the gate open for them to walk in. No matter what, we are weakened by having such people here. And unless the government wakes up, unless our leadership wakes up, this is going into a territory of, as far as I see it, a series of conflicts within the country that is just going to bring more and more chaos, and for our enemies outside to swoop in when it feels like it for them, right? They might not even have to probably hand ourselves over to them by that time. So in my view, the best way that we deal with these things, the best way that we revive this country back, is not through politics, it's through culture, it's through revival of culture. And once we rebuild the culture over here, more and more, we push the politics that is in favor of Britain first, right? British interests first. And the more that we have that, the more that we build resilience, the more that we build foresight or the political will to deal with these enemies within and the ones outside, right? I've got to say this, that there is a day of reckoning coming. The more they're going to push people, the more it's going to work the other way around. And it's time we realize, rediscover our national identities and our cultural and social values and stuff. And anyone who is diametrically opposed to it, maybe it's time to stop being tolerant and acceptant of such elements who work against the national interest. You can have debates, you can have arguments, you can have differing views. That's completely different, but to work against a people, work against the country, work against the people, that's different to collude with the enemies and in doing so become the enemy within. That's completely different. I think so there's a lot of feeling of this disconnect, this national identity and culture disconnect from people, and this is why you're seeing a sort of a negative reaction to being called upon to possibly defend your country. What country? That is what a lot of people would ask as well. What country is it? So yeah, it's not a rejection of defending your country that I'm seeing more, but it's a rejection to the elites who have the courts, the police system, the politicians, everyone in power, the civil service, on and on and on, the whole of public institutions, who keep telling these very same people that they are racist, that they're wrong to love their country, and now being called upon to fight for that very country. Well, what country? You made that country alien to them. So there's a lot over there. There's a lot over there that need to be reconciled. And that can't be done unless we have a complete change of leadership, and a complete revival of culture, and that has to happen soon. However, ultimately, when it comes down to it, as I've said before, I took an oath and I take my oath seriously when I, pledged my loyalty to this country. So, of course, whatever leadership might be, my loyalty is to this country, right? And to the crown. So, I'll do my part to defend this country. I think so. I echo a lot of people's thoughts and intentions when I say this, that we would much prefer if we were not being led by absolute idiots and people who are actively working against the interest of this country. It would be preferable to have the right leadership, and then you would see a change in people's answer. And another thing to add over here is the fact that this idea of conscription, or the idea of the British Army calling its citizens up for arms and stuff, in this instance, is it's not really to defend the country at the moment. It seems as people are looking at it is to fight Russia, right? To defend Ukraine in some sort of a way. I think so. That's why there's a lot of hesitance as well, or basically out and out, rejection of it. Things would be a lot different if we were being asked to defend the country from invaders, which we're seeing a lot of on our coast, right? So I think that's where a bigger part of the disconnect is as well. Um, it's a very different. It's a very different story when you're asking the public, the people, to go defend someone else's country for some sort of fringe British interest, which are not completely British interests, but the interest of other countries within NATO. I mean, that would be a no thank you from a lot of people, regardless of anything. But yeah, that's all I want to say. I think so today. Just that message that it has been disturbing. It has been disturbing to see NATO warning for conflict, for full-on war. It's disturbing to see that. But on the other hand, it's also disturbing to have the British Army chief suggest that they might need the public's help, and the overwhelming majority of the public saying no for one reason or another, right? That kind of shows you how broken our society has become. And most of the people have valid reasons, because there is no national identity, there's no point of cohesion for people to come together. How can you ask people to fight for something that they don't believe in anymore, right? You have to revive it. And how can you ask your internal enemies who already hate you to fight for you? They're not going to fight for you, right? They're going to do acts that will actually weaken you from within. They are going to ensue chaos, which they are already doing. So, things we need to smarten up. We need to smarten up our immigration system as well. Block the immigration. Start thinking on the lines of taking strict actions against those who commit crimes. Stop giving benefits to anyone automatically who comes over here. Stop accepting asylum seekers for a time being as well, I would say, because we just can't have that right now, right? These are troubling times. The borders need to be closed up. They need to be protected. Any immigration that is needed has to be very smart immigration, and not from cultures that do not mix well together. who are diametrically opposed to the culture of Britain. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. Anyways, on that depressing note, be good, take care, and thank you so much for listening.